I can really honestly say for myself that I am a serial procrastinator. It still happens nowadays. I think I would say back in the day, when I was really young, it was a very intense procrastination. So, I might really get into a huge hole, you might say, of anxiety and not moving, so that I would not even want to, I know this sounds awful, but I was a teenager, I would not even want to shower or move or anything like this, because movement, like it was inhibiting me so much. Like movement would be so hard because I procrastinated so hard that my body wasn't able to move. And I didn't want to experience the water on my body. It's weird, but I don't know if you relate, but this is obviously an ADHD thing too, or neurodivergence thing. However, procrastination was something that I've done over and over again, especially for things that I knew I needed to do, and I felt like a huge pain of not being able to do it before I even tried. It's like almost that trying to do it would give me an intense feeling of not being able to do it, so that I would try to avoid that feeling of not being able to do it. Obviously, some of the things also related to subjects that I wasn't natural at. So, geography or biology or physics and anything, history, oh my God, anything that I needed to memorize things, but I wasn't really interested in that back then, especially because reading was difficult for me. I couldn't memorize while reading, so if I would read, I would switch off, and I would sort of, have to reread every page, and then be like, okay, I've just read this page and actually I haven't taken any of it in. So it's really difficult for me to have that information by reading. I guess it would make a difference if a teacher would be really fun, or simplifying everything and explaining it in a really interesting way. So I had one teacher, for example, who would just write every single word of what they're saying onto the blackboard or onto the whiteboard, and write it word for word with backs to the class, and then the rest of the class, they would complain about their lives. It was it was just not how I would take things in. I was bored. But anyway, no blame to the teachers now, whereas that has a huge impact, like, how you're being taught. If you're being taught with, having a fun emotional connection, especially to children or teenagers, otherwise you drift off. And especially for me, if I wasn't interested in the subject, or I didn't know why I should be interested in the subject. For me, it was art that was enjoyable, and languages. These two things I could really happily do, but the rest, no way. So yeah, if and I've lost the train of thought now. Oh, this is funny. Procrastination, here you go. So this is how it works. So procrastination is something that's obviously been something really painful for me in my life, and I know that for a lot of artists this is also the case. And sometimes, I would say that not just for artists, I think we have all of it can have procrastination. There's just something about creating art that sometimes might trigger procrastination even more than other work, because it's like the expression of self, and it's the instant judgment of self. Unless you have been creating art for a very long time, which obviously we still can find artist blocks and procrastination, it will still impact then and again. So one of the things that I find interesting is that procrastination kind of can be a silent sort of, I'm going to divert into this direction and see, and try to avoid that really silently, and try to add more things to my plate in order for me not to do what I need to do. And I think the other day, I set a priority for something. I set a priority for the room to be based for art, and so that it's always lying there so I can do it straight away, because sometimes inhibiting thoughts can come just because, you need to set it up and need to, bring all the brushes out and stuff like that. So to make it as simple as possible. So that's one thing where procrastination, you can make it easier for yourself to not procrastinate. But the other thing is if you have other things in your mind before that you need to get done, then that might be in your mind before creating. So it's like, how can you create a space in your mind that's free so that you can then create as quick as possible. Now, procrastination might still continue kicking in despite of that. And I think at that point, it's just a matter of doing it. And I know this sounds really simple and something that doesn't sound very magical, but in some way it's just doing it and setting it as a priority. Because if it's not set as a priority, then all the other things will always come in between. And what might help is to sit down in the space and just to kind of say, okay, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to have a look and touch the sketchbook or touch the brushes or see, look at some inspiration that you've got, in order to find a way in without overwhelming yourself that you have to do the whole thing. And then you might naturally go into doing it. And the other thing might be that you could, give yourself the 5-second rule, and just do it and not think about it. Because really what's in between are the thought processes. The thought process of, I can't do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to feel that I can't do it. This is very big for me. What might it be for you? It might be something completely different. So I think have a chat with somebody about this. Like, when you procrastinate, talk about it, because with talking, you are taking away the initial layer of your thought process, and then you're getting to the second layer, and then to the third, and then to the fourth. But if you don't voice the first layer, you're not going to get to the second or the third or the fourth. So I really encourage to talk about it. And it's very different space when you have shared what's in your mind, or you've written what's in your mind, because then it doesn't clutter the mind. And like I said, it's like, cleaning up a bin. If you take the first layer, then you can see the second layer. If you take away the second layer, you can see the third layer. It's that same way. Oftentimes we have so much stuff in our minds that then subconsciously will drive us to avoid the things that we actually want to do. And I have to say, procrastination has to do with limitations we put on ourselves, like with thinking we are limited, thinking we are not good enough, with fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of feeling that we're not good enough, not being perfect. It's all of that thing. I'm personally going through an extra layer of this right now. So it's not something that I'm just preaching here. This is also a message for me, because I will be needing to address this even more. Obviously, as long as we're alive, we have things that we can work on. And this is one thing that's very present for me now, to just do it. So let's do it together, right? Wish you a wonderful day. Bye.